Jake Morrison was drinking his morning coffee when the sky turned black. He stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Force cruiser Liberty, watching the sun rise over the Pacific Ocean. It was Tuesday, March 15th, 2157. A normal day, or so he thought. The first sign of trouble came from the radar operator. "Captain, I'm getting some strange readings. Big objects coming in fast from orbit." Jake put down his coffee cup and walked over to look at the screen. What he saw made his blood run cold. Dozens of massive shapes were dropping through Earth's atmosphere. They were huge, each one the size of a city block. "Sound the alarm," Jake ordered. "All hands to battle stations. Contact Earth Command immediately." But before his crew could respond, the first alien ship broke through the clouds above New York City. It was unlike anything humans had ever seen. The ship looked like it was made of dark crystal, with sharp edges that caught the morning light. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Dr. Lisa Grant was working in her lab beneath the Colorado mountains when the emergency sirens started screaming. She was a scientist studying faster-than-light communication for the Mars colonies. The underground facility was supposed to be one of the safest places on Earth. "What's happening up there?" she asked her assistant as they watched the emergency broadcasts on the lab screens. The answer came in the form of bright flashes appearing over major cities around the world. London, Tokyo, San Francisco, New York. Each flash was followed by silence from those cities. Complete silence. Lieutenant Amy Foster was flying her patrol fighter over Manhattan when she saw the alien ship appear. She was young, only 25, and had never seen real combat. The massive crystal ship hung in the sky like a dark cloud blocking out the sun. "Command, this is Foster. I have visual on an unknown vessel over New York. It's massive." "What are my orders?" The radio crackled with static and panicked voices. "All units, engage the enemy. Repeat, engage the enemy." Amy pushed her fighter to full speed and fired her missiles at the alien ship. The weapons struck the crystal hull and exploded harmlessly. The ship didn't even seem to notice. Then the alien ship began to glow. Energy built up along its edges, getting brighter and brighter. Amy realized what was about to happen and tried to fly away, but she was too close. The beam of energy that shot down from the alien ship was like nothing she had ever seen. It was pure white light that cut through the air like a sword. When it hit the ground, buildings simply vanished. Not destroyed, not collapsed, just gone, as if they had never existed. Amy watched in horror as the beam swept across Manhattan. The Empire State Building, Central Park, Times Square, all of it disappeared in seconds. Millions of people lived in those areas. Now there was nothing but empty space and burning air. Admiral Kevin Brooks was in his office at Earth Command when the reports started coming in. First New York, then London, then Tokyo. Each city was being systematically destroyed by the alien ships. His staff was running around in panic, but Kevin forced himself to stay calm. "How many ships?" he asked his intelligence officer. "At least 50, sir. Maybe more. They're appearing over every major population center on Earth." Kevin looked at the tactical display. Red dots marked the locations of alien ships. There were too many of them. Earth's defenses had been built to fight other humans, not aliens with technology beyond anything they had imagined. "Order all available ships to engage. Contact the Mars colonies and warn them. If we fall, they need to be ready." The battle for Earth was short and brutal. Human fighters and cruisers threw everything they had at the alien ships. Nuclear missiles, particle beams, railguns, nothing worked. The alien ships had shields that stopped every attack. Meanwhile, their energy weapons cut through human ships like paper. Captain Morrison watched from the Liberty as the Earth Defense Fleet was destroyed around him. Ships that had taken years to build were gone in minutes. Good people, friends he had served with for decades, were dead. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission," his communications officer reported. "It's from the alien ship. Put it on screen." The image that appeared was of a tall, thin creature made of what looked like living crystal. It had 4 arms and eyes that glowed with inner light. When it spoke, its voice was like breaking glass. "Humans of Earth, your resistance is futile. We are the Zephyrian Empire. Your world now belongs to us. Surrender and your deaths will be quick. Jake stared at the alien face. Send a reply. Tell them they can go to hell. The Zephyrian's expression didn't change. Very well. Your species has chosen extinction. The transmission ended, and Jake knew that Earth's fate was sealed. The surface cities were already gone. Soon the aliens would start hunting down the survivors in the underground shelters and remote areas. But as he watched the alien ships begin their systematic destruction of Earth, Jake made a promise. Somehow, some way, humanity would survive. This. And when they did, they would make the Zephyrians pay for what they had done. Dr. Grant watched the surface world die from her underground lab. The facility's sensors showed radiation levels rising as the aliens bombarded everything above ground. But the thick rock and concrete above them held. They were safe for now. Doctor, her assistant said quietly. What do we do now? Lisa looked at the alien technology readings on her screen. The Zephyrians were using energy patterns she had never seen before. But patterns could be studied, understood, and eventually copied. We survive, she said. And we learn. We study everything we can about these aliens. Their ships, their weapons, their weaknesses. Because this isn't over. Above ground, the sky burned with alien fire. Cities that had stood for centuries were reduced to ash in hours. Millions of people were dead and millions more were hiding in whatever shelter they could find. But in the deep places, in the underground bases and hidden bunkers, humans were already planning their revenge. The aliens had made a terrible mistake. They had attacked Earth first, thinking humans were weak and helpless. They would learn how wrong they were. 6 months had passed since the sky burned over Earth. The Zephyrians thought they had won. Their crystal ships floated lazily over the dead cities, and their soldiers walked through the ruins looking for anything valuable to take back to their empire. But they were wrong. Colonel Ryan Hayes crouched in the rubble of what used to be Central Park. Above him, a Zephyrian patrol moved slowly through the twisted metal and broken concrete. The aliens were tall and thin, their crystal bodies catching the dim light that filtered through the smoke-filled sky. Ryan counted 3 of them. He had 12 men with him, all that remained of his army unit. They had been living in the subway, tunnels for months, coming up only to hunt the invaders. He held up 3 fingers to his team and pointed at the aliens. His men nodded and raised their weapons. They had learned that regular bullets barely scratched the Zephyrians' crystal skin, but a shot to the head could crack them like glass. Now, Ryan whispered. Gunfire erupted from the ruins. The first alien went down immediately, its head shattered into 1,000 pieces. The second one tried to run but took 3 rounds to the chest and collapsed. The third alien raised some kind of energy weapon, but Sergeant Carlos Rivera was faster with his grenade launcher. The explosion echoed through the dead city. When the smoke cleared, there was nothing left of the third alien but crystal dust. Clean up and move out, Ryan ordered. More will come soon. His team gathered the alien weapons and disappeared back into the underground tunnels. It was the same routine they followed every day. Hit the enemy fast, take what they could, and vanish before reinforcements arrived. Deep beneath Denver, Dr. Lisa Grant worked in her laboratory by the light of stolen alien power cells. The underground research facility had become a weapons factory, and Lisa was its chief engineer. She held up a human rifle that had been modified with Zephyrian technology. The weapon hummed with alien energy, and when she fired it at a test target, the crystal dummy exploded into fragments. It works, she told her assistant. The energy frequency is perfect. We can finally hurt them like they hurt us. Lisa had spent months studying captured alien equipment. She had learned that the Zephyrians were not as advanced as they pretended to be. Their technology was powerful but simple. More importantly, it could be copied and improved. How many can we make? Asked Captain Jake Morrison. He had arrived that morning with a convoy of survivors from the coast. 50 new weapons this week, Lisa replied. Maybe 100 next week if we can get more alien power cells. Jake nodded. The resistance was growing stronger every day. Small groups like Ryan's were operating in every major city. They were sharing information through hidden radio networks and coordinating attacks across the globe. But the real surprise was coming from space. Commander Beth Turner stood on the bridge of the mining ship turned warship called the Freedom. She was leading a fleet of 30 ships from the Mars colonies back to Earth. The journey had taken 4 months, but they were finally approaching their home planet. "What's our status?" she asked her weapons officer. "All ships report ready for combat. We have mining lasers converted to military use and every available fighter craft. It's not much, but it's what we have." Beth looked at the tactical display showing Earth surrounded by Zephyrian ships. The aliens had 40 vessels in orbit, each one bigger than anything in her fleet. But Beth had something the aliens didn't expect. The fury of humans who had watched their home burn from space. "Send the message to all resistance cells on Earth," she ordered. "Tell them the cavalry is coming." On Earth, Ryan Hayes received the message while planning his next attack. The Mars fleet was only days away, and they needed the surface resistance to create as much chaos as possible when the space battle began. "This is it," he told his team. "Our chance to really hurt them." Ryan had been saving his best weapon for the right moment. Sergeant Rivera had found something in the ruins of a music store, a massive sound system that could be powered by alien energy cells. Lisa Grant had explained to him over the radio that certain sound frequencies could crack, Zephyrian crystal bodies like hammer blows. "We're going to make some noise," Ryan told his men with a grim smile. Meanwhile, the Zephyrians were becoming frustrated with the human resistance. They had expected the primitive species to surrender after the first attack, but instead, the humans were fighting harder than ever. General Vex, the Zephyrian commander, stood in his crystal ship overlooking the ruins of New York. His second-in-command approached with disturbing news. "Sir, we lost another patrol in the southern sector. The humans are using our own weapons against us." Vex's crystal face showed no emotion, but his inner light flickered with anger. "How is this possible? They are barely more advanced than animals. They are learning, sir. Adapting our technology to their primitive weapons. Some of our soldiers report that the humans fight with a fury we have never encountered." This was true. Human resistance fighters showed no mercy to captured Zephyrians. They had learned to be as ruthless as their enemies, and they fought with the desperation of a species facing extinction. Dr. Grant made another discovery in her underground lab. She had been studying Zephyrian biology from captured soldiers, and she found something interesting. The aliens' crystal structure made them incredibly strong, but it also made them vulnerable to specific vibrations. "It's like tuning a crystal glass," she explained to Jake over the radio. "Hit the right frequency and they shatter from the inside out." This information was passed to every resistance cell on Earth. Within days, humans were building sonic weapons from whatever they could find. Car speakers, construction equipment, even church bells were turned into anti-alien weapons. The Zephyrians began to realize they had made a serious mistake. The species they thought was weak and primitive was proving to be incredibly dangerous. Humans learned fast, adapted quickly, and fought with a viciousness that surprised even veteran soldiers of the Zephyrian Empire. But it was too late to change course. The war had begun, and only one species would survive it. Commander Turner's fleet was now only hours away from Earth. On the surface, resistance cells prepared for the largest coordinated attack since the invasion began, and in the underground labs, Dr. Grant was putting the finishing touches on weapons that would make the aliens regret they had ever heard of Earth. The real war was about to begin. The Mars fleet arrived on a Sunday morning. Commander Beth Turner watched Earth grow larger on her screen as 30 human ships approached their home planet. What she saw made her heart break and her blood boil at the same time. Earth looked sick. The blue and green planet she remembered was now brown and gray. Smoke clouds covered most of the continents, and she could see the crystal shapes of alien ships floating in orbit like dark angels of death. "Open a channel to all ships," Beth ordered. "This is Commander Turner. Today we take back our home. Fight hard, fight smart, and make them pay for every human life they took." The space battle began at noon. The Zephyrian ships were bigger and more powerful, but the human fleet had something their enemies didn't expect: pure hatred mixed with desperate courage. Captain Jake Morrison commanded a ship called the Revenge. It had once been a Mars cargo hauler, but now it carried weapons built from alien technology that Dr. Grant had designed. The ship looked ugly and patched together, but it could hurt the crystal ships. "Target their engines," Jake told his weapons. "Officer." Lisa says that's their weak spot. The Revenge fired its modified mining lasers at a Zephyrian cruiser. The beams cut through the alien ship's shields like they weren't even there. The crystal hull cracked and began to leak atmosphere into space. "It's working," Jake shouted. "All ships target their engines, we can hurt them." On the surface of Earth, Colonel Ryan Hayes heard the explosions in the sky above New York. The space battle had begun, which meant it was time for his part of view, the plan. He looked at the massive sound system that Sergeant Rivera had built in the ruins of Times Square. It was connected to 12 alien power cells and aimed at the Zephyrian command post 3 blocks away. "You sure this will work?" Rivera asked. Ryan smiled grimly. "Dr. Grant says the right frequency will crack them like eggs. Let's find out." He pressed the button and the sound system roared to life. But this wasn't music. It was a carefully tuned sonic weapon that sent vibrations through the air at exactly the frequency that hurt Zephyrian crystal bodies. The effect was immediate. The alien soldiers at the command post began to shake and stumble. Cracks appeared in their crystal skin, spreading like spider webs. Within seconds, they shattered completely, falling apart like broken glass. "Holy hell," Rivera whispered. It actually worked. Similar attacks were happening all over Earth. In London, resistance fighters used church bells to create sonic weapons. In Tokyo, they turned subway train horns into alien killers. Every major city had groups of humans using sound to destroy their oppressors. Admiral Kevin Brooks coordinated the global uprising from his bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains. Radio reports were coming in from everywhere. The aliens were losing ground on every continent. Paris reports successful elimination of alien garrison, his communications officer said. Berlin confirms destruction of enemy supply depot. Sydney has cleared the harbor district. Kevin allowed himself a small smile. For the first time since the invasion, humans were winning. In space, the battle was reaching its climax. The Mars fleet had lost 12 ships, but they had destroyed 15 Zephyrian vessels. More importantly, they had learned how to fight the aliens effectively. Commander Turner's ship, the Freedom, was locked in combat with the Zephyrian flagship. The alien ship was 3 times larger, but Turner had a plan that would have made her ancestors proud. "All power to engines," she ordered. "We're going to ram them." Her crew looked at her like she was crazy, but they followed orders. The Freedom accelerated toward the crystal ship at full speed. At the last second, Turner fired every weapon they had, and then activated the emergency pods. The collision was spectacular. The Freedom's hull, reinforced with salvaged alien metal, punched through the Zephyrian flagship like a bullet through glass. Both ships exploded in a ball of fire that lit up Earth's sky. Turner and most of her crew survived in the escape pods. But her sacrifice had destroyed the enemy command ship. Without their leader, the remaining Zephyrian ships began to retreat. On Earth, Dr. Lisa Grant watched the space battle from her underground lab. She had been working on something special, a weapon that would make sure the aliens never came back. She had cracked their communication system and learned terrible things. Earth was just the first target. The Zephyrians planned to attack every human colony in space. Mars, the asteroid miners, even the research stations around Jupiter. They wanted to wipe out humanity completely. "Not if I can help it," Lisa muttered, as she worked on her computer. She had found the location of the Zephyrian homeworld and discovered the coordinates of their entire empire. More importantly, she had learned how their faster-than-light travel worked. With this information, humans could hunt down every Zephyrian ship in the galaxy. Captain Morrison's ship limped back to Earth after the battle. Half his crew was dead, but they had helped win the fight. As he looked down at his home planet, he saw something that filled him with hope. The alien ships were leaving. Some had been destroyed, others were fleeing into deep space. For the first time in 7 months, Earth's sky was free of invaders, but Jake knew this wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. Admiral Brooks addressed the planet from his bunker. His voice was broadcast to every survivor, in every underground shelter and hidden base. "People of Earth," he said, "today we have won our first victory. The aliens are retreating, but they are not defeated. They will try to come back with more ships and they will attack our colonies in space." He paused, letting his words sink in. "We cannot let that happen. We will not hide and wait for them to return. We will hunt them down, every last one. We will make sure they never threaten humanity again." Colonel Ryan Hayes stood in the ruins of New York, watching alien ships flee toward the stars. Around him, his men were cheering and firing their weapons into the air. But Ryan wasn't celebrating yet. He thought about all the people who had died in the invasion, his wife, his children, his friends, millions of innocent humans who would never see another sunrise. The aliens had started this war by attacking Earth. Now humans would finish it by making sure the Zephyrian Empire never rose again. The tide had turned. The hunted had become the hunters. 2 years had passed since the battle for Earth. The planet was healing, but its people had changed forever. Where once there had been peaceful cities, now there were military bases and weapon factories. Where once there had been scientists studying the stars for knowledge, now there were engineers building ships of war. Admiral Kevin Brooks stood on the command deck of the massive battleship called the Retribution. It was the largest ship humans had ever built, constructed from salvaged alien technology and powered by pure human rage. Around him, a fleet of 200 warships prepared for their next mission. "Target acquired," reported his tactical officer.
"Zephyrian Colony World Keth 7, population approximately 2 million. Kevin looked at the blue-green planet on his screen. It looked peaceful, almost like Earth had once been. But he felt no mercy for the crystal beings living there. "Begin the Kai."
"Bombardment," he ordered coldly. The human fleet opened fire. Energy beams that had been reverse-engineered from Zephyrian weapons rained down on the planet's surface. But these weapons were different now. Dr. Lisa Grant had improved them, made them specifically designed to kill crystal-based life forms. General Amy Foster led the ground assault. She had been a young pilot when the aliens first attacked Earth. Now she was a hardened military commander who specialized in hunting Zephyrians. Her soldiers called her the Crystal Breaker because of her skill at shattering alien bodies with sonic weapons. Her troops dropped from orbit in armored shuttles, landing in the ruins of what had been the planet's capital city. The orbital bombardment had done its work well. Most of the crystal buildings were already cracked and falling apart. "Remember," Amy told her soldiers over the radio, "no prisoners, no mercy. They showed none to us." The human soldiers moved through the alien city like a plague. They carried weapons that fired sonic pulses, turning Zephyrian bodies into piles of crystal dust. They used chemical weapons designed to eat through crystal skin. They showed the same ruthless efficiency that the aliens had once shown to Earth. Within 6 hours, the planet was silent. Captain Danny Cole commanded the newest human warship, a vessel called the Vengeance. It was designed for one purpose: hunting down Zephyrian ships and destroying them. The ship was faster than anything the aliens had, and its weapons could punch through their shields like paper. "Sir, we have 3 Zephyrian freighters trying to escape the system," his sensor operator reported. Danny smiled coldly. "Pursue and destroy. No survivors." The Vengeance caught up with the fleeing ships within an hour. The alien vessels tried to surrender, broadcasting messages of peace and offers to negotiate. Danny ignored them all. "Fire," he ordered. 3 more. Zephyrian ships became expanding clouds of crystal debris. Dr. Lisa Grant worked in her new laboratory aboard the research ship called the Fury. She was no longer just a scientist. She had become the head of something called the Xenocide Research Division. Her job was to develop new ways to kill Zephyrians more efficiently. Her latest creation was a biological weapon, a virus that specifically targeted the crystal structure of Zephyrian bodies. It would spread through their population like wildfire, turning them to dust from the inside out. "The test results are perfect," she told Admiral Brooks over the communication system. "One infected Zephyrian can spread the virus to an entire planet within weeks, Deploy it on their next colony world, Brooks replied without hesitation. Lisa felt a moment of doubt. What she was doing was terrible, but she remembered the images of Earth burning, of children dying in the streets. The aliens had started this war. Now humans would finish it. The human war machine had become something frightening to behold. Every month, more ships rolled out of the orbital factories around Earth and Mars. Every week, new weapons were developed, specifically for killing Zephyrians. The humans had learned to wage war with scientific precision. Other alien species in the galaxy began to take notice. The Kalari Confederacy sent ambassadors to Earth, offering to join the war against the Zephyrians. The moth-like Viridians offered to share their star maps to help humans find Zephyrian worlds faster. But some aliens were terrified of what humanity had become. The peaceful Graken sent messages begging the humans to show mercy, to accept Zephyrian surrender. Ambassador Helen Price gave them Earth's answer. The Zephyrians attacked our home world without warning or cause, she said to the gathered alien representatives. They killed billions of innocent people. They showed no mercy then. They will receive none now. The galaxy was learning to fear the name human. Stories spread of the terrible weapons they used, of their refusal to accept surrender, of their methodical destruction of every Zephyrian world they found. Captain Jake Morrison, now commanding a fleet of 50 ships, received reports from across human space. The campaign was proceeding ahead of schedule. In the past year, they had eliminated 47 Zephyrian colony worlds and destroyed over 300 enemy ships. "What's our next target?" he asked his intelligence officer. "Zephyrian mining world Tech 9, population 800,000. They're extracting rare crystals for their ship construction." Jake nodded. "Set course, we'll hit them at dawn." But as the human fleet spread across the galaxy like a deadly virus, some began to question what they had become. Colonel Ryan Hayes, now a general leading ground forces, sometimes wondered if they were becoming worse than the aliens they fought. He pushed these thoughts away. Every time he started to feel mercy, he remembered the day the sky burned over Earth. He remembered his dead family, his destroyed home, the millions of humans who would never see another sunset. The Zephyrians had made their choice when they attacked Earth first. Now they would live with the consequences, however brief that might be. The human empire was expanding, built on the bones of their enemies. Every Zephyrian world that fell became a human colony. Every alien ship destroyed became raw materials for new human vessels. Admiral Brooks looked at the star charts showing the progress of the war. Red dots marked dead Zephyrian worlds. Blue dots showed the advance of human fleets. Soon, only one target would remain, the Zephyrian homeworld itself. The final battle was coming, and when it arrived, humanity would show the galaxy what happened to those who dared attack Earth. The Zephyrian homeworld Christhia was the most beautiful planet in their empire. It sparkled like a jewel in space, covered with crystal cities that reached toward the stars. For 3,000 years, the Zephyrians had ruled this world and built their empire from here. Now, 500 human warships surrounded it like hungry wolves. Admiral Kevin Brooks stood on the bridge of the flagship Retribution and looked at the planet that would soon die. He felt no sadness, no regret, only the cold satisfaction of a job nearly finished. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the planet," his communications officer reported. "Put it on screen." The image that appeared was of an elderly Zephyrian leader, his crystal body dimmed with age and fear. Behind him, Brooks could see other aliens pleading and crying. "Admiral Brooks," the alien leader said, his voice shaking. "I am Prime Minister Kell of the Zephyrian Empire. We wish to surrender unconditionally. We will pay any reparations you demand. We will serve your empire. Please, just spare our people." Brooks stared at the alien for a long moment. Then he spoke, his voice as cold as space itself. "You attacked Earth first. You chose to start this war when you thought we were weak and helpless. You killed billions of innocent humans. Now you will learn what that choice has cost you." "But, Admiral," the Zephyrian leader begged, "our people are not warriors. Most of them had nothing to do with the attack on your world. They are civilians, children, innocents. Brooks thought of the children of Earth who had died in alien fire 3 years ago. Your innocence died when you supported a government that murdered my people. This conversation is over. He cut the transmission and turned to his weapons officer. Begin the bombardment. The human fleet opened fire, but these were not ordinary weapons. Dr. Lisa Grant had spent 3 years perfecting the ultimate anti-Zephyrian arsenal. Sonic bombs that could shatter crystal from orbit. Biological weapons that turned crystal beings to dust. Energy beams that specifically targeted their life forms. General Amy Foster led the ground invasion with 50,000 human soldiers. They landed on the planet's surface as the cities burned around them. The Zephyrian military tried to fight back, but their weapons were useless against human armor designed to resist their energy beams. Sector 7 is clear, reported one of her commanders over the radio. No survivors. Good, Amy replied. Move to Sector 8. Leave nothing standing. The battle for the Zephyrian capital lasted only 12 hours. Human soldiers moved through the crystal streets like death itself, their sonic weapons turning every alien they found into piles of glittering dust. There was no mercy, no prisoners, no negotiations. Captain Danny Cole's ship, the Vengeance, hunted down the last Zephyrian fleet trying to escape the system. 30 alien ships fled toward deep space, carrying the last survivors of their race. Sir, they're broadcasting surrender signals on all frequencies, his sensor operator said. Danny's response was to order his ships to open fire. Within an hour, the last free Zephyrians in the galaxy were dead, floating in space as frozen crystal fragments. Dr. Lisa Grant watched the final phase of her plan unfold from her laboratory ship. She had developed a planet-killer weapon that would make the Zephyrian homeworld uninhabitable for crystal-based life, but perfect for human colonization. Deploying the final weapon, she announced to Admiral Brooks. The device was simple but devastating. It would change the very atmosphere of the planet, making it impossible for Zephyrians to survive while creating perfect conditions for human life. Within a year, Earth colonists would be living in the crystal cities, and the Zephyrian name would be forgotten. As the weapon took effect, the last Zephyrians on the planet began to die. Not from explosions or gunfire, but from the slow agony of suffocation as their atmosphere became poison to them. Admiral Brooks watched it all with cold satisfaction. The species that had dared attack Earth was now extinct. Every world they had, once ruled, now belonged to humanity. Their empire, built over thousands of years, had been erased in less than 3. Ambassador Helen Price prepared to address the Galactic Council from the bridge of her diplomatic ship. Representatives from dozens of alien species had gathered to witness the end of the Zephyrian Empire. Many of them looked terrified. Fellow sentients, she began, her voice calm and reasonable. Today marks the end of a war that began when the Zephyrian Empire attacked our home world without provocation. That attack was a mistake that has cost them everything. She paused, looking at the fearful faces of the alien representatives. Let this be a lesson to all species in the galaxy. Humanity desires peace and friendship with our neighbors. We will trade with you, share knowledge with you, and protect you from threats. But any civilization that attacks human worlds will face complete extinction. This is not a threat. It is a promise. The alien representatives sat in stunned silence. They had watched humanity transform from victims to the most feared military power in known space. The message was clear. Do not test human patience. 5 years later, Captain Jake Morrison stood in the garden of his new home on former Zephyrian, colony world New Terra. His children played among crystal trees that once belonged to an extinct species. The planet was beautiful and peaceful now, filled with human families building new lives. In schools across the former Zephyrian Empire, human children learned about the Great War. They learned how the aliens had attacked Earth thinking humans were weak. They learned how humanity had proven them wrong in the most final way possible. The lesson was simple but important. Never start a fight with humans, because they will always finish it. The teacher showed the children pictures of Earth before the attack, green and blue and full of life. Then she showed them pictures of the crystal cities their parents now lived in, built by a species that no longer existed. Remember, she told her students, the Zephyrians made a choice when they attacked our home. They chose extinction. We simply honored that choice. Admiral Brooks, now retired, sat in his office on Earth looking at reports from the expanding human empire. 47 worlds that had once belonged to the Zephyrians now flew human flags. The galaxy was more peaceful than it had been in centuries, mainly because everyone was too afraid to start wars. Sometimes, late at night, he wondered if humanity had gone too far, if complete extinction had been necessary. Then he would look at the memorial wall showing the billions of humans who had died in the alien attack, and his doubts would disappear. The Zephyrians had attacked Earth first. Everything that happened after that was their responsibility. Humanity had learned to live with the galaxy, but the galaxy had also learned to live with humanity. Peace through strength, as the old saying went. No one would dare attack Earth again. Turkey. Lesson had been taught. It would not be forgotten.